My talk today is called Standing Tall in an Upside Down World. For the past 10 years, I've been writing and speaking about the American cowboy. And I'm often asked, why cowboys? Why not astronauts or Major League Baseball players or maybe even Wall Street executives? What's so special about cowboys? Well, maybe it's a generational thing, but cowboys were my childhood heroes. And I think back to the countless Western movies I saw at the Saturday matinees. You youngsters don't have no idea what I'm talking about, but your parents and grandparents do. But to me, the cowboy seemed larger than life. He was someone you could always count on, no matter what. And I can remember, like it was yesterday, how those good guys in the white hats made me want to do better and be better than I was. Cowboys were my childhood heroes. And I've come to realize many, many, many years later, they're still my heroes today. But the figure who inspires me now isn't the cowboy of the silver screen. It's the real life working cowboy and cowgirl. The one who's out mending fences in blazing heat in the Texas Panhandle, who saddles up in a blinding snowstorm to rescue a stranded calf. An iconic figure who I believe represents the best of America. The courage, the optimism, and the plain hard work that built this great country of ours. My hope is that the heroic figure of the cowboy will inspire you as he has inspired me to reach for the best in yourself so that you can succeed in both your career and in life. First of all, the way cowboys and cowgirls live their lives raises the question, what does success really mean? Our society has been shaped by an unspoken yet very powerful assumption that success means money and all the things that money can buy. It's so easy to get caught up in all that and spend our whole lives striving for the bigger job, the nicer house, the fancier car, at a time when mainstream American culture is so fixated on material success. Cowboys know that the best things in life really aren't things at all. They find their rewards in the simple, rugged way of life they've chosen for themselves. Being out in the open air, living close to the animals, in tune with the rhythms of nature. As many studies show, beyond a basic comfort level, more money doesn't make people happier. Happiness has much more to do with the joys of family, friends, and doing work we find to be meaningful, regardless of the status or paycheck attached. Cowboys teach us the same lesson, only they do it by touching our hearts because they live their values. And that's why they're such a powerful source of inspiration. They encourage each of us to rethink how we measure success based upon where we each find meaning in our own lives. But there's more to it than that. At a time when it can seem like the whole world is going downhill and the old rules no longer apply, Cowboys point us back to basics, back to fundamental principles of right and wrong, back to the idea that success isn't a matter of your job title, your lifestyle, or your bank account. True success means you've earned the respect, the trust, and the admiration of those who know you best. Your friends, your family, your colleagues, your clients. In short, even if the world around you is going crazy and things seem completely upside down, you are standing tall. And here's the good news. This is something we can all achieve. You don't have to have a big job or a big paycheck or a big house to be admired and respected by those around you. But it does take some thought and effort. You too can stand tall if every day you nurture and develop the 4 traits that are the foundation of personal character. It starts with a positive attitude, which to me means a can-do spirit, one that's fueled by believing in yourself, coupled with the recognition that you are the author of your own life story. Just imagine how much will, how much drive, and sheer optimism it took to settle the West. Even today, cowboys and cowgirls face so many tough jobs that if they didn't have a can-do spirit, they would never get out of bed in the morning. Think about your own experiences in school and in the workplace. If someone has an attitude of whatever, or hey, it's not my job, their abilities won't take them very far. By the same token, someone may lack skills and experience, but with the right mindset, they can be constantly learning and moving forward. Any good teacher, any business owner will tell you that attitude trumps ability every single time. Does anyone here know somebody who has a bad attitude and has succeeded anyway? I can honestly say in my whole career, I never met that person. He or she may be out there, but I've not seen it personally. The second character trait we all need is integrity. We live in a complicated world, and things don't always seem black and white. But on a personal level, integrity is pretty simple. It means you choose to do the right thing, even if it's hard, and there's no clear payoff for you. To some people, integrity means nothing more than following the rules. But I disagree, because you can always bend rules or simply go around them. To me, integrity has more to do with that inner voice that tells you the difference between right and wrong. A voice that can only come from within. Having integrity also means that you stand for something. You live by a code. And you strive every single day to make your actions line up with your beliefs. If we can learn anything from the cowboy, it's that everyone needs a code, a creed to live by. All of us, no matter how strong or well-intentioned somebody might be, we all need a solid belief system, a moral compass, a North Star, if you will, to guide us when the temptations are huge or the prevailing culture goes against what we know in our hearts is the right thing to do. Even today, cowboys still live by their code, the code of the West. In fact, honoring the code is the hallmark of a genuine cowboy. It's the glue that binds cowboys into a brotherhood. Now, at this point, some of you all might be wondering, I hope not too many, this is Tulsa, Oklahoma. Was there really a code of the West? Or was this something dreamed up by a Hollywood writer? It's not going to hurt my feelings. Show of hands. How many of you all think, yep, there really was a code of the West? Show of hands. Okay? And how many of you are thinking, Jim, my friend, you've seen one too many Western movies? Well, I promise you, the code of the West is for real. And it was the product of a very unique time and place. In the days of the open range, while the West was still being settled, there was no system of courts and laws. So if you had a dispute with a neighbor, the sheriff might be literally 500 miles away. So there had to be a set of behavior that everybody sort of recognized. This is how you got along with each other. So the Cowboy Code was the only civilizing authority. And his so-called rules really weren't rules at all. They were more about character and the principles you lived by, even when no one was looking. This is not a history lesson, and nobody's trying to turn the clock back 150 years. The Code of the West couldn't be more relevant to our lives today because it's a reminder of timeless, universal values and principles that apply to each of us, no matter who we are or what we do. That's why I wrote this book, Cowboy Ethics. It's hard to believe this book came out in 2004. And since it's gone on to, and I say this not bragging, I'm as surprised as anybody else. The book has sold well over 150,000 copies. I thought it might sell 5,000. But I was convinced that we needed a new way of thinking about business ethics, because the old legalistic, by the rule book approach never works. There's always another loophole, another way to game the system. Cowboy ethics points us to a different model, one that's based not on rules, but on principles. You can always bend rules. You can't bend principles. Anybody want to guess, by the way, if you want to judge ethics and business integrity by an ethics manual, anybody want to guess how many pages Enron had in their ethics? Anybody want to guess? It's 150 that covered every possible circumstance. Okay? So in my book, I translated the unwritten code of the West into a set of 10 principles that all Americans can share. You all should have this little card on the table. I'm going to ask you to kind of look at this for a second. This photo on the cover, I think kind of one image kind of summarizes what cowboy ethics is all about. David Stecklin took this, to me, amazing picture. And I said, David, how cold was this? He said, Jim, I don't know. He said, it was taken in February in Montana. I'm guessing 10 degrees below zero, 20 degrees. He said, I really don't know. And I thought about this image, and I thought, what kind of person gets up in the middle of the night from a warm bunk and goes out and rescues a calf? Now remember, the cowboy doesn't own the calf. The rancher owns the calf. All I can tell you is, if it was me, I would say to my dear wife, Stanya, sweetheart, I went out and got the darn calf last week. It's your turn to get out of bed. Well, they don't look at it this way. And as a rancher told me, he said, Jim, all I can say is we will get out of bed in the middle of the night, and we often do in wintertime in like eastern Colorado, to rescue a calf. He said, one, there's no guarantee that the calf will even be alive. But he said, I guarantee you, we will find that calf. If it's not alive, there's nothing we can do about it. But if it is alive, I guarantee you, we will get that calf back to the bunkhouse, and we'll be up most of the night feeding it with a baby bottle. And the best part of this, when you talk to a real rancher or cowboy, is there's no one to pat this guy on the back, good job, take the morning off. Nope. He might sleep for an hour, he's back at it again the next morning. That's what it means to be a shepherd. You're taking care of the flock. And somebody told me years ago, I never thought about this when I wrote this book, Cowboy Ethics, that the cowboy, the reason that the cowboy is so respected in our culture, he's a shepherd. And going back in the Judeo-Christian religion for 2,000 years, society has always held to esteem this idea of the shepherd who takes care of his flock. I think that's probably true. Anyway, on the back, and before I even get into these 10 principles, I just want to take a second. The Code of the West was never written down anywhere. And yet, every cowboy and cowgirl, Oklahoma, Texas, Wyoming, Montana, Nevada, everyone knew what it was. And when I found this out, I saw a movie. Did anybody here see Open Range? Anybody? Kevin? I knew Kevin because that week my wife and I lived in Santa Barbara, Montecito. He's a great guy. And he and, of course, Bob Duvall. And there was something in that movie, I don't know what it was, that took me back to my childhood. And I think it was this idea about right is right and wrong is wrong. Black is, it's that black and white thing. And that's how the cowboys don't look at a gray area. They look at right and wrong. You can argue philosophically about that all day long. That's how they look at things. And something in that movie took me back to my childhood. Now, I'm the oldest guy in this room, I believe, by several years at least. And I grew up with Roy, Roger, and Gene Autry. And they were my heroes. And so when I found out that the code was never written down, I said, I'm going to figure this thing out. Took about maybe 6 months, 8 months. I read easily 100 Western books. One of them was Zane Grey. So Zane Grey has a book out called Code of the West. He never said what the code was. He just said, cowboys live by a code. And I watched probably 25 of the classic Western movies. I've seen them all a dozen times. Red River, and my all-time favorite is, you all seen Lonesome Dove, I hope? One of the all-time great movies. And so a number of these principles actually come from the movies. And I think they do a good job of setting some of this stuff up. But here we go. Live each day with courage. And there's a nuance to most of these. It doesn't say be brave. It doesn't say have courage. It says live each day with courage. And at the time I wrote this, one of my dear friends in Santa Barbara was fighting cancer. And he struggled for 1 year. For 7 years, he struggled. And every day when I saw him almost every day. Dick Archer would say, Jim, how are you doing? How's your day? He never once in 7 years felt bad about his situation or woe is me, never once. That is what courage is. That's one example of courage. Take pride in your work. One thing that's always intrigued me about cowboys and cowgirls, and this is for real, they take great pride in humble jobs. Now, they prefer to do those humble jobs while on the back of a horse. But sometimes, like building fences, that's not possible. But if you ever get to know a rancher or cowboy, and you see how their day unfolds, it starts early and ends 9 o'clock at night. That's the life they chose for themselves. But they take great pride, and I don't want to be some old geezer picking on young people, but if you talk to business owners, they've told me, I've heard this story 100 times, that not all of them, but many young people, for whatever reason, are not comfortable doing ordinary jobs. They want to be an executive vice president 2 years after joining a company because they think because they did well in school that translates into doing well in any job. Well, there are a lot of people ahead of you. So there's a certain patience that you have to learn about this stuff. Always finish what you start. Cowboys hated quitters almost as much as they hated cowards. They don't tolerate quitters. Do what has to be done. We know what that means. That means if we all who have jobs, there's a time when you say, okay, this is not exactly fun. It's not how I want to be spending my weekend, but you've got to roll your sleeves up and actually get the job done. Be tough, but fair. And I've used this many times in my business career where I got into an argument with somebody, which happens from time to time, and I just said to him, look, let's sit down, the two of us, and I want to hear your side of the story. And then, would you hear my side of the story? And I tell him, I promise you one thing on my honor. I will not try to beat you in this discussion. I'm not going to try to outwit you. I will meet you halfway. You have my promise. Because I don't want you to leave with a bad taste in your mouth. And it's amazing how how that works when you just approach a problem or a complaint and you say to somebody, I'll meet you halfway, would you accept that? And I've never had anybody say, sure, let's give it a shot. Make a promise, keep it. And this cowboy promise is for real. This is not a myth. When a cowboy gives another cowboy a handshake, that's as good as a contract. Ride for the brand. Does anybody know what that means, ride for the brand? When a cowboy joins an outfit, he throws his bedroll in the chuck wagon. As long as he collects a paycheck, meager as the paycheck is, he devotes total loyalty to the outfit. Absolute loyalty. If you talk to some folks on Wall Street, as I've done from time to time, there's always some guy that raises their hand. Mr. Owen, what happens, this sounds great, but what happens if the outfit doesn't reciprocate? It's simple. The cowboy gets his bedroll out of the chuck wagon, hops on his pony, goes on down the trail, and finds another outfit to work for. But this ride for the brand is why you all in this group have been so successful. And I picked this up very quickly in casual conversations. You all are riding for the brand when you come out and support OK Ethics. My wife said, why would you say talk less and say more? I said, honey, I'm a work in progress, that's why. Remember, some things aren't for sale. I spent my whole career in the investment business, and I was always proud of that. But you all can remember back not that many years ago, when it seemed like every day there was a new scandal. If it wasn't Bear Stearns, it was Lehman Brothers. And when you really looked beneath the tent at what was going on, you just shook your head. And all I can say is that I spent my 35-year career in this, and I got lucky and did pretty well. But the reason for the great bear market in the first decade of this century had nothing to do with monetary policy or economics. No, it was the fact that some things like reputation were for sale. Now, not for $1,000, maybe not even for $1 million, but there's enough money on the table. People who were already wealthy sold their soul for more money. What kind of a person would do that? I don't know. You can draw your own conclusion. And finally, know where to draw the line. And this one came from that great movie, Lonesome Dove. Remember that with I can't think of his name now, but he said, Bob Duvall's character says, you didn't know where to draw the line. He said, I didn't see the line. He was looking for a line like this. And he hung him. Okay. Let's think about this idea for just a second of shared values. Here we are with our country being torn apart by deep and even bitter cultural and political divisions, gay marriage, abortion, immigration, gun control. These are issues that often divide families, let alone communities. But is there anyone in this room who believes that we shouldn't live each day with courage? Raise your hand. Anybody? Is anybody here thinking, hey, it's okay to be a coward sometimes, we all get scared and it's okay. Anybody think that's true? A good idea? Or that a promise made shouldn't be a promise kept? Is there anybody in this room who says, wait a minute, Jim, this is okay in theory. This is a very pleasant principle. But in real life, come on, things change. And if you're not flexible, sure, I gave my word. I may have even signed a contract. Somebody told me this, a very successful guy in business. He said, of course we have a contract with you. The contract doesn't mean anything to us. This guy told me. I said, what? He said, no. He said that you pay enough for the legal advice and you can almost get out of anything. But does anybody believe that's a good idea? And finally, is there any serious disagreement that some things in this world should never be for sale? And one is reputation. So the point is, there are some values we can all agree upon, despite our differences. What's more, I'm convinced that these shared values can help to unite us and maybe even heal us at a time when our country feels so divided. And when you think about it, the core of the West is a natural place to look for these shared values because it's part of the heritage we all share as Americans. I believe it's essential that we hold on to these shared values because heaven knows we need them today. Now, and I want to make this very, very clear. I don't want anybody to leave the room today with a misassumption. I'm not here to tell anyone what principles or values to embrace. Now, you may think, because I wrote this book, that I'm somehow promoting these 10 principles. Not at all. Cowboy Ethics is really a book about self-discovery. It provides a starting point, a jumping off place, and I hope the inspiration to help people look deep inside themselves and reflect on the values and principles they want to live by. And let me just say that having a clear sense of what you stand for and won't stand for can make a profound difference in how you choose to live your life. At first, you might think this is a book about cowboys. Not really. It's really a book about being a better person inside yourself. The cowboy is simply a construct. To be a better person inside yourself, you have to know who you are and what values define you. And I want to pause for just a second, and I hope that one or two or even three of you all will help me out with this. I want you to take a second and think of a value or principle that defines who you are. This is not a contest. There are no prizes, no winners. Nobody's going to judge you based on what you say. For example, one I recently heard was, keep it simple, keep it true. That's a pretty good way to go through life. Another one I love is, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. But my all-time favorite was a rancher up in Wyoming, from the Pinedale area, who said her guiding principle was, leave it better than you found it. I said, wow, that's pretty profound. She said, Jim, this ranch has been in my family for like 140 years. She said, I don't do this for myself at all. She said, I don't know any rancher that does that because it's really, really hard work. I do this for my kids, and someday, I hope, my kids' kids. It's a way of life that we've grown to love. And I thought, you know, if somebody put on your gravestone when you were underground and they said, he or she left it better than you found it, what else can you say about somebody? It's pretty profound. Okay, I need a volunteer or two. If I don't get one, I've got to call on somebody. Now, I do a lot of work with younger people, 4-H, FFA, a lot of schools, boys and girls clubs. And the reason I think that adults have a hard time with this is because you're thinking analytically. So I want you to shut down the left side of the brain. This is all about the heart. And that's why young people can often come through and like, wow, that's pretty good. So help me out. Somebody raise it. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I really liked this new president yesterday. He said, do for one what you would like to do for many.
Man, that is unbelievable. That is one of the most profound things I've ever heard somebody say. And that stuck with me. I said, wow. I need two more. Somebody. Come on. Oh, yes, sir.
Give proper respect to all men.
There you go. That's a important way to go through life, isn't it? Doesn't matter who they are or what their status is. Mm-hmm. One more. Come on, one more. Somebody. Yes, ma'am.
Do the right thing, always.
That's it. It's pretty simple, isn't it? Do the right thing, always. This brings me to the third trait we all need if we want to stand tall, and that is grit. It's about having the guts and the heart to work hard at something and persevere. And by the way, Cowboys never said, they don't say grit. Somebody wrote a book called True Grit in the movie, but Cowboys don't use that term. It's about having the guts to work hard at something and persevere. No matter how steep the climb or how many times you fall down. And this blend of qualities, which I've called grit, is what Cowboys call try, T-R-Y. Does anybody know that phrase, try? Okay. Well, to most of us, try, T-R-Y, is a verb. It means to make an attempt. The Cowboys, and you hear this in the Tulsa rodeo. If you went back with the Cowboys, you'll hear this sometimes. So they'll take the verb and turn it into a noun. So the Cowboys might say, that cowboy, he's got try. That means that cowboy gives 100% effort to whatever he's doing. And then there are a few cowboys. If they were to walk into a room, and you would never say it to his face, this would be embarrassing to him. But you all know who Ty Murray is, the bull rider? If Ty were to walk into a room anywhere in the West, and there were cowboys, they would say, fellas, here comes Ty Murray. That cowboy's got the try, T-H-E-T-R-Y. It's the highest respect you can pay a cowboy. It's reserved for someone who always gives 110% and never, ever quits. I've been up in, Ty Murray lives in Stephenville, Texas, and has about 2,500 acre ranch. An amazing guy, and tough as nails. And I've seen him chop wood. And the focus that this guy has at chopping wood, he could be picking up something from the dirt. It's amazing, but that's what separates him. And think about this when you get home tonight. How many people do you know around you in your life, business, personal, who you would say that person has got try, or maybe even the try? I've known a few, but Ty's at the top of the list. Try is one of those things that's hard to pin down, but you know it when you see it. Try is what we love about star athletes. It's what makes the Navy SEALs so inspiring. Try is that inner fire that says good isn't good enough. and I refuse to settle for being average. I'm going to be the very best I can be at whatever I set my sights upon, no matter what it takes. Isn't that what true success is all about? Being the very best you can be at whatever it is you really want to do in life. And that phrase, what you really want to do in life, brings me to the fourth and final trait you need to stand tall. And that is having a purpose. When I say purpose, I mean something different than having a goal. We all have goals. Yours might be to finish your education, start your own business, become financially independent. Having a purpose is a bigger idea. It's how you choose to make your mark on the world. It's what gives your life meaning. It may also be how you want to be remembered. Research shows that people who feel a strong sense of purpose not only live longer than those who don't, they also live with more joy and have a greater sense of satisfaction as they look back over the years. Some people are lucky. They develop a sense of purpose while they're young, but it can take many years. That was certainly true in my case. I feel blessed that more than a decade ago, I came up with the idea of cowboy ethics, wrote the book, and started a foundation to spread the message that we can all be heroes in our own lives. To be a hero, you don't have to rescue someone from a burning building or find a cure for a life-threatening disease. You might be the single mom right here in Tulsa, raising 2 kids by herself, but still finds time to help with homework. You say, how does somebody do this? Or someone who puts a career on hold to care for an aging parent. Or the businesswoman who cuts her own salary rather than laying off loyal workers. These are what I call quiet heroes. If there's one thing this world needs more of, it's people like that. My dad was a quiet hero. He wasn't rich or famous. He was a dentist in Lexington, Kentucky. A modest man, but a man with unshakable principles. The kind of man you would love to have as a neighbor or friend. The kind of man I still aspire to be. The thing people still remember about my dad is whenever he walked into the room, people stood a little bit straighter. And he had the kind of presence that made us all want to reach higher and call upon what was best in ourselves. I don't recall my dad ever once talking about ethics or values. He didn't have to, because he lived them, just like the cowboys who lived by the unwritten code of the West. Because of him, I know how important it is to have role models, and how lucky I was to have a dad who was such a shining example of what it means to live a good life. Now that I'm older, I'm more and more aware that not everyone has been so fortunate. I've also realized if we truly want to change the world, we have to look to the next generation. You know, that's why I'm so passionate about working with young people who may not have a role model like my dad or your dad. And I want to congratulate Colin and all of you all for the program that you all have started with young people. I think it's remarkable. And yesterday, when I was in Oklahoma City, I had a real privilege of meeting some of the neatest young people. Some of them were from 4-H. One was from a private school, some others were from a public school, and you've never met nicer kids in your life. And I think that what you are doing here with this program for young people in particular, I think it's wonderful that companies support this, but I'm particularly interested in what you all are doing with young people, because this is the future. And I think if you do get involved with young people and you realize that you can be that role model the kids are looking for, you can change some child's life. You can make a real difference to somebody who is struggling. And having just one person who sees that you understand their struggle can make a big, big difference. So as my dad showed me, the way to live a happier, more satisfied life is to reach for the very best in yourself and use the power you have to lift up others. As far as I'm concerned, everybody in this room, and those who are not here today, who's involved with OK Ethics has done exactly that. And so everyone in this room can stand tall and walk down the street with pride based on what you all have done. It's pretty amazing. And Shannon, I want to give you a toast and just say what a difference you have made in so many, many, many lives. I wish I could find some way of maybe bottling you up and what we could do in other parts. But to be honest about it, and I've been doing this Cowboy Ethics thing now for about 10 years, and I've spoken around the country. I've never seen any other state do this. Now maybe they are, but I'm not aware of it. So my congratulations to everybody in this room, and just keep up the good work, and thank you all very, very, very much. I was really honored to be here. Thank you all.